What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another episode of the 5 Takeaways, where we're going to take a look at the 1-0 defeat against Wolves at Molineux and see what 5 things we can take away from the game. Starting off with number 1, and that is long shot Spurs. It should be hot shot Tottenham, long shot Tottenham.
Long shot Tottenham. Spurs recorded their 4th highest total of the season for shots yesterday, with 21 shots at Wolves' goal. But the average distance of those shots was over 20 yards, which is also the 2nd highest average distance for shots taken in the Premier League for us this season. So whilst we did cause Wolves problems and we did have shots on goal, a lot of them were from range, and maybe we got to focus on getting closer to goal.
Yeah, and I think that was a consequence as well of the poor deliveries into the box. Not enough men in the box when those crosses are coming in as well. Thought Perisic was a big culprit of that. And it's just poor to see because we had so much domination, especially in that first half, so much good play. But we just couldn't seem to make those clear-cut chances, or often enough clear-cut chances that really the dominance really expected from that dominance. So very frustrating. Even when we were on top, still couldn't create as many clear-cut chances as we wanted. But let's move on to number 2, and that is loss of control.
Yeah, and we started the game really brightly yesterday, and in fact for the first 65 minutes, Spurs, you could argue, were on top. The shot count on 60, when you take the shot count at 65 minutes, it was 17-1 going into just over the hour mark. But in the last 25 minutes, Spurs did lose control of the game. The shot count for the last 25 minutes was 7-4 in Wolves' favour, and they did gain control for the last 25 minutes, and Spurs did fail to take advantage when being very far on top. But we did have control of that game for 65 minutes, and Stellini and Conte will be fuming that for such a long time being in control, and to lose it like that must be very frustrating.
Yeah, and that is what the most frustrating thing about that game was, is that how much of control we did have in that game, but how little clear-cut chances that we did make. And when Wolves make that tactical tweak to edge the game in their favour, we did nothing to combat that whatsoever. So the management got to take a long, hard look at themselves in terms of the way they're managing games at the moment, because yesterday the way they managed the whole 90 minutes was not good enough at all. And if they did manage it in the correct way, I still believe we would have got 3 points yesterday, but they didn't. Let's move on to number 3, and that is a promising PORRO.
Yeah, and PORRO probably gave his best performance in the Tottenham shirt, given that was his 3rd start, and the other 2 games were Sheffield United away and Leicester away, albeit we still lost this game, to be honest. But it was a much better display, definitely offensively. 2 key passes during the game. He had 4 shots yesterday with 1 on target. He did hit the crossbar from a free kick as well. And his crossing, he played 2 crosses, one of them being accurate. But he still must do better with his defending, as he lost 8 of his 9 ground duels yesterday. And there was a moment as well where he was seeing out a ball for a goal kick and allowed Neto to nip in and pinch the ball off him, which wasn't great. But from an offensive point of view, it was much better from PORRO, and there were some promising signs.
Absolutely. I thought he was one of our most creative outlets on the pitch. He was probably the most likely source for a goal if it was going to come from anywhere. Loving his free kick ability straight away for his first free kick at Spurs, probably the best free kick we've seen in many years for Spurs. Very annoying that he didn't get to take that second one. But no, I really liked Pedro Porro's performance yesterday, and it was sign of things to come, in my opinion. Even defensively, I thought he was a bit better than he has been in previous weeks, albeit it's probably not hard to do because he has been pretty poor defensively. But I just didn't get why they took him off. I just didn't get it whatsoever. It made no sense to me to bring Emerson on for him when we're pushing for a goal. But in terms of looking into the future and what he can bring to us, I think we saw a glimpse into that, that's for sure. But moving on to number 4, and that is out-duelled.
Yeah, and that goes to midfield, because Spurs were really dominating the midfield battle when it came to the first half. I thought Skip and Højbjerg were linking up really well, passing it between each other, progressing the ball nicely, and they were on top. But when it came to the second half, and especially the latter part of the game, they were outfought and they were overrun and they were lacking energy. And the duelling, the ground duels shows it. Højbjerg and Skip both only won one of their 5 ground duels. They both had 5 and they both only won one of them. Compare that to Matthias Nunes, who won 7 out of his 9, and Ruben Neves, who won 6 out of his 9. Just showed that they were, when it came to battling one-on-one in those situations, they were coming out on top. And we at the end of the day, we were outfought in that area, and they didn't have the energy to sustain their first half dominance.
Yeah, and you saw like about halfway through the first half, Wolves were trying to turn it into a bit of a scrap. It was a very stop-start game. The referee was buying every 50-50 challenge and everything like that. It was really frustrating because when we were on top, you could see clearly what Wolves' plan was, and that was just trying to stop the game, take the sting out of the game, and they did that really successfully, and they brought us into a scrap, and we couldn't scrap with them because they were just much more aggressive than us, winning the majority of the duels as well. So we need to be more clever, we need to be stronger, and we need to win more of those duels if we're going to win games like that, because I think Wolves played that game plan really well, because the game was just so stop-start, and then once they made that changes, they were the more dominant team, and it was just a very frustrating day at the office for Tottenham Hotspur. But moving on to the 5th and final takeaway, and that is away woes continue.
Yeah, and that's now 4 losses away from home in a row. 5 of the last 6 have been losses as well, which is away games away at Manchester City, away at AC Milan, away at Sheffield United, away at Leicester, and away at Wolves. We scored 3 goals in those games as well in our last 5 away games. The only one winning was the Fulham away, which we won 1-0. So our away form was really costing us dearly at the moment. We can't seem to get consistent run of results away from home. And we seem to be crumbling when we're put under pressure. Case in point, 2-0 up against Man City. We crumbled in the second half, 1-0 up against Leicester, and we ended up crumbling in that game. Sheffield United was just a poor performance all round. And then Wolves were on top and then put under pressure in the second half. We ended up crumbling. So really, really disappointing at the moment. The fact that we just keep losing control of these games, and teams at the moment... it's just a case in point of, lads, it's Tottenham at the moment, it feels like, away from home. We just keep crumbling under the pressure.
Yeah, and there was a moment in the season where it looked like that was turning. We won away against Brighton, won away against Bournemouth, away against Marseille, away against Palace. But that's all started to creep in again now, and it's really frustrating to watch. I mean, how many miles, how much money we're going to spend travelling and watching this team just fall flat on their asses every single away game. Now, in the last 2 weeks, we've gone to Milan, we've gone to Sheffield, we've gone to Molineux now in Wolves, and we haven't even seen our team score. So it's just a very, very frustrating time following Spurs on the road. We need to turn it around very soon if we want to get our ambitions of this season, even to finish in the top 4, never mind going far in the Champions League. So look, it's very frustrating, but it is what it is at the moment, and it's really, really bad and poor watching Tottenham play. And not only that, it's just so boring as well. The football is just so boring. But that is your 5 takeaways from the 1-0 defeat to Wolves. Let me know in the comment section below if we've missed anything out. Put your takeaways in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.